My name is John Taylor from the Bitcoin mining world. We're just getting started and talking about Bitcoin mining. Should we even get into the Bitcoin mining business? Is it worth it? Or should I just go buy and hold some Bitcoins and just be rich, go to Tahiti, call it a day? So make the argument. I got some money. I got a little bit of jingle in my ringle here, and I want to make some more money. What am I going to do?
Well, I mean, you got to look at it from a couple different perspectives. The first one is are you willing to deal with the up and downs of trying to trade the market, trying to get into Bitcoin at the right time? Or are you somebody who wants to earn a passive income on a regular basis? That's what Bitcoin mining is. If you buy machines and you set them up, you pay for the infrastructure and the power, you collect Bitcoin every single day when those machines are on. It doesn't matter what the price of Bitcoin is. It's basically dollar cost averaging at all times versus, if I've got $100,000, am I going to dump that into Bitcoin right now at Bitcoin's current price? Am I going to dollar cost average that in? Some would say that buying Bitcoin is the best strategy, but I kind of disagree with that. If you can, purchase the land, if you can purchase the infrastructure and the equipment, you have an asset, a physical asset right there, and then that asset is also bringing in money for you on a daily basis. Every single day, you're dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. So, we talked with Brian and we talked with Tim Martinez yesterday, and we talked a little bit about how real estate, it holds its value. And, they had some bad times go down, and they were able to sell their real estate. And at the end of the day, they walked away with money in their pocket. And if you're a Bitcoin miner, you can walk away with money in your pocket after selling that real estate and Bitcoin at the end of the day, if that's what you decide to do.
I really like what Tim's doing. I think it's a great opportunity to diversify your portfolio. You got a couple different assets on your book. You have the real estate, you got the Bitcoin. So Scott, I got $100,000 like Trevor said. If I just buy a Bitcoin now, it's probably going to go up. I could probably make a couple grand. Why should I put that $100,000 into Bitcoin miners? Is it worth it?
That's a good question. Yeah. So there's a lot of things you could do with that 100,000, right? You could buy a Bitcoin, like you said, or you can invest it into infrastructure. Containers to put your miners in, all sorts of different things. But there's some pros and cons, right? You really do have to look at this as a business. So there are advantages to having things on your books as a business, right? Assets that depreciate, expenses on your books that can make the profit look a little bit less, so you can keep more of your money as a business or as a business owner. If you're looking at it from an investment standpoint, there's a lot that you could do with your money. Buying Bitcoin is one option. But if you're really trying to do this as a business, you can integrate it into maybe your existing brick and mortar business as well to have some other tax advantages.
That's a great point. And I think that's one of the big differences with Bitcoin mining compared to buying and holding Bitcoin. You talked a little bit about what kind of personality you need to have to be a trader. It's a different personality type to do that. I mean,
it's a full-time job too.
It's
sometimes.
a full-time job. You might need to have drugs to keep you up all night. It's all those things. It's really, really hard, and it's stressful.
And not to mention, I mean, if you're trading Bitcoin and Bitcoin goes down, let's say 15%, are you able to sleep at night? My miners are turned on and they're hashing at all times. I sleep like a baby. I don't care about the price of Bitcoin. I'm making Bitcoin either way.
The sweet sound of a Bitcoin miner
Exactly.
worrying you to sleep. I love it. So the $100,000, we talked a little bit about that. Besides buying a candy bar, what you could do is you could invest into hosting and get 20 miners. You could get 15 miners, put them in a location, pay that electric bill. And I think you talked about the tax implication is really important, that if you have another business, you can take profits from your other business, and rather than paying taxes on them, you can pay electricity. That money then goes into Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin can go into places that are more beneficial for you tax-wise.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different options there, right? Like you said, you can actually own the mining computers yourself. You can maybe even put them in a trust, own it as a business. Everybody does it a little bit differently. But yeah, we like to talk about the ways to do it as a business. There's a lot of advantages to that. But yeah, so earlier you were talking about that $100,000. What can you really do with it? And you mentioned hosting. Maybe people don't necessarily understand exactly what hosting is. So in the data center world, you're talking about maybe co-location or basically somebody else running your computers for you. So that's definitely an option, right? Because you can put most of your money into just buying the hash power, buying the actual miners that make the Bitcoin. Whereas maybe if you use that $100,000 somewhere else, you might have to buy land, like Trevor was saying, or a container, racks, power distribution units, and all sorts of other HVAC gear, right? So at that point, then you're not able to put as much money towards the actual Bitcoin miners themselves. You have to pay for all this other infrastructure to run the miners yourself. So there's different options there in between just buying Bitcoin, getting your miners hosted, building your own mining farm, and expanding from there.
I really do think that hosting is a great opportunity for a lot of people because, maybe you live in California, maybe you live in other parts of the world where power prices are, 25, 30 cents a kilowatt hour, and it's not conducive to actually building a physical mine in your location. And at that point, you have two options. You can, buy the closest mine in Arizona or New Mexico, but you got to drive or fly every single time that you need to go service that mine or you want to take a look at that mine. So hosting becomes a great opportunity for people because you can host those machines anywhere in the world. You got Abundant Mines, you've got SAS Mining, you have Blockware, you have so many different hosting providers that you can go with. Do your research, obviously, that's very important. But, to your point, you don't have to do the education and the R&D to figure out, okay, is this a good site? Is the power price, conducive to what I'm trying to get out of this? Do I have to deal with HVAC? Do I have to hire technicians? Do I have to, hire an entire crew to come in here and maintenance and manage this machine and this facility? No, you literally go and you give this money to a company that is going to buy the machines for you, or you can send them to them for a racking fee.
Right. You
get those machines in the building, and then you just literally pay the electricity and you collect that Bitcoin on the back end.
And so that's where, when we're talking about the passive investment, that's definitely a good option for that. If you're not really a DIYer, you don't want to really get your hands dirty. There's more white glove services out there that can handle it.
And we offer a number of different hosting opportunities, whether they're in the States or overseas. They're fantastic ways to get into the business. And like you said, it is a little bit more white glove. So people look at Bitcoin mining as very complicated, and it's hard to get into. Should I take that $100,000 and buy a piece of real estate? I can wrap my head around what that looks like. I can be a landlord. I collect rent. It's a good investment. It's common. Bitcoin is different, though. If you look at the stock market and you invest into that, it's pretty easy. But when you start adding all these machines, where hosting kind of bridges that gap. And what that does is it gives you the opportunity to understand what Bitcoin mining is, how it works, and also a profitable starting point. So if you buy 20 machines, let's just say, and you put them into a hosting facility in one of our great locations in Texas, we got another one in Ethiopia, we have some great opportunities to put them all over the world. The machines are there, they're safe, they're making Bitcoin, but then you also have the foundation for your Bitcoin mining company. If you want to take this to the next level and buy that property, pour the cement slab, hook up the electricity, you already have machines, you're already started, plus you're going to have that knowledge. And the best time to get into Bitcoin mining is?
Right now.
Yesterday.
Absolutely. Why is it the best time to get into Bitcoin mining? Bitcoin's down. This is, let's go over the mindset of when the best time to get in the market.
Right. Yeah. I could start there. So definitely with Bitcoin, it's there's a cycle, right? Every 4 years, there's a reward halving, and so that affects the income and the profit level of the miners that you're running. So right now, there was a recent Bitcoin halving in April of 2024. And so, we're on a trajectory right now where maybe there's going to be a really massive bull run. So the actual mining equipment right now isn't very costly. It's reasonable pricing out there. You know, you can buy it, and if you have decent power prices, you can potentially break even on your investment within a couple or few years.
Let's break that down a little bit. You talked about a bull run and halving and all these complicated things. Like in short, Bitcoin has this way of being made, and it does this all these complicated things. But right now, basically, Bitcoin is down. It costs more to make a Bitcoin than it does to buy a Bitcoin, and so the machines and the equipment to make it are really inexpensive. And nobody buys them when they're inexpensive. They all buy them when Bitcoin is 95,000 or 105,000, when the machines are the most expensive. And if anybody knows anything about investing, you buy on the lows and sell on the highs, right? You could make a living, like someone could have a really good business if they bought Bitcoin mining machines on the low and then sold them when they're high, because there's such a wide margin.
Right. I mean, we were talking earlier about trading, right? Trading Bitcoin. And how it's almost a full-time job. You gotta almost do drugs to keep you pumped up so you're making the right trades. It's almost similar with Bitcoin mining equipment. Yeah. So while everybody else is buying their miners at the top and investing way too much and spending too much on interest, loan payments, maybe when Bitcoin goes down, then they're no longer able to run profitably. That's usually a good point for somebody who's done their research and come in, being smart, come in, buy up that equipment for cheap, and then run it, while everybody else is trying to get out, you're trying to get in. You hold on for maybe another year or so, and you ride that wave on the way up and benefit from the upswing.
And speaking of good deals, we do have 234 terahash S21s on sale right now, so be sure to talk with any of us after the show. We'd love to tell you about great opportunities. They're in the United States, no tariffs. They've been liberated. They're fantastic, and it's a great opportunity for you to get into the Bitcoin mining business.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we got here? We've used up 11 minutes, right?
It's the fastest
That felt like
conversation.
25 minutes.
Oh, we did. So we talked about hosting and why it's a good idea to be hosting. I don't want to host. I don't want to waste my $100,000 quite yet. I'm going to hold it, maybe buy some Tesla stock. How can I get into the Bitcoin mining business? I think you have some opportunities there, right?
Well, I mean, are you looking to buy a site facility, or
I just want to learn about how this works and have the lowest amount of money into it.
So how do you get in? How do you learn about getting in?
I'll let you take that one.
Okay. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different ways you can learn to get into this business. We have some great educational materials, boot camps that we've put on, a mastermind club that we meet every Friday morning. And we take a real deep dive into the mechanics of Bitcoin mining and running this as a business. Other than that, there's conferences you can attend. But Trevor actually has a great podcast called the Build a Mine podcast.
Yeah, if you're not quite ready to take the dive into Bitcoin mining, you're interested in it, you're curious, but you're not quite sure. I mean, education is the next step. You really need to read the book. But I'd also argue that that's not quite enough. You really, you got to get off zero, and you have to learn about the asset class, but you also have to learn about the hardware and the, management of the hardware that you're trying to get into. If you don't want to get into Bitcoin mining, then you don't want to get into Bitcoin mining, and there's no amount of education that's going to really help you. I can understand being hesitant about not wanting to dump $100,000 into an unknown asset class, and if that's the case, then yeah, 100%. Start with masterminds, start with the Build a Mine podcast, go to our boot camps, come to these events and learn about Bitcoin and mining, and give yourself that foundation so that as you start to progress through your journey of becoming a industrial Bitcoin miner, you have the knowledge that is necessary to do this profitably. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and say, oh, this is the greatest business in the world. It's super easy. It's not. It's actually quite difficult and very cutthroat at the end of the day. When you have your revenue streams getting cut in half every 4 years, and that has nothing to do with other people in your area doing the exact same thing, trying to get the exact same miners. It has nothing to do with that. It's just the cyclical nature of Bitcoin. Every 4 years, your revenue is cut in half. That means you have to be twice as efficient in order to stay in the exact same place. It's a very difficult industry to get into. Very rewarding, very profitable. It's a lot of fun to be a Bitcoin miner. It's great to have Bitcoin, but you really have to understand who you are and do that process to learn about Bitcoin mining in such a way that you set yourself up for the future. Don't just half-ass it and go into Bitcoin and think, oh, I'm going to be a Bitcoin miner. And, there is a way to go about it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And talking about education and different ways to get into Bitcoin mining, it also includes community, right? Like we said, at these conferences, people love to get together and network. But we've actually taken that online too. So we've built out some communities on applications like Telegram, Twitter. On Telegram, we have different niche topics. You can go there, join, and talk about immersion cooling, right? Like data centers and Bitcoin mining farms are cooling their miners in different technologies. Hydro cooling.
I mean, to that point, Scott, you talk about these Telegram communities. I've looked through some of the back catalogs on this. I mean, there is such a wealth of information. And when you've got, we have thousands of people in these groups. Some people who are all over the world doing exactly what they're in that group. If it's the immersion group, you've got people in immersion containers, immersion mining. They've been in there for 10 plus years, and so the amount of knowledge that you can gain just from being a fly on the wall and reading some of these conversations in the Telegram groups is absolutely immense. You don't necessarily need to go to the events to get that information. I could argue that the information is all out there. We just through our mastermind and through our virtual conference and our in-person conference and our boot camps, we kind of amalgamate that information in one spot so that you don't necessarily have to go look for it, and then you can meet us in person.
Right. And you're talking about that signal versus noise, right?
Absolutely.
There's some very nice groups on Telegram where you can just focus in and you don't have to be distracted with all the other noise, all the other whatever is out there. You can just focus in on whatever particular aspect of Bitcoin mining you're interested in.
Yeah, and when let's say you want to build a Bitcoin mining facility, you're going to run into certain problems. So there is times when you need mentorship to help walk you through whatever that problem is. And it's not super easy to just go on Twitter and ask, oh, hey, I've got this problem. Can I, get some help from the peanut gallery? It's much better to go to a group of Bitcoin miners who are dedicated to Bitcoin mining, who have been through these scenarios before, and they can help walk you through that exact scenario, give you advice, and you can start making the right decisions. At the end of the day, Bitcoin mining world, we want to educate the next generation of Bitcoin miners, not necessarily because we think we're the best at education, but it's like if we want Bitcoin to succeed, then we need Bitcoin miners that are doing their jobs in the best possible way. And you mentioned this yesterday when you first got into it. There was nothing. You literally had to figure this out from scratch. And how do you navigate that world? It's very rocky. It's very start and stop and make mistakes here, screw this up and lose however hundreds of thousands of dollars you've invested into it. So
the hard way.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we can mitigate those misfortunes, missteps, and we want to make sure that you succeed as a Bitcoin miner.
What do you think, John? Education, community, what are other things we need to be thinking about?